Warm greetings from a cold climate to freethinkers listening everywhere. Whatever your views on religion, thanks for listening and welcome to Freethought Radio. I'm Laurie Gaylor, and Freethought Radio is your weekly irreverent antidote to the religious right.
And I'm Dan Barker, your friendly neighborhood atheist. This is the weekend of December 11 and 12, 2010.
Now, Dan, you're our resident jokester, and we often do start Freethought Radio with a joke. What's up this week?
Well, there was a funny joke that Alfred Hitchcock said in 1972 on the Dick Cavett show. Instead of me telling the joke, why don't we listen to Alfred Hitchcock himself telling the joke?
May I tell you a story?
Yes.
About a nice little boy. His father managed to get him into the best school in England, Eton College. You heard of that? Father went to visit him after a week, and the boy was scratched and bruised. Terrible state. He said, "What happened?" He said, "They don't like me here, Father. They call me a dirty little Jew." He said, "Don't you fight back. They'll throw you out of the school. Keep away from them." He waits a week, visits the boy again, and he's still badly cut up. He said, "They still calling you that?" He said, "Yes, Father." He said, "You tell them that Jesus Christ was a Jew, and that'll stop them." So, all right, Father, goes away. Third week, he got two black eyes. He said, "What, they're still calling you that?" He said, "Didn't you tell them what I told you to tell them?" He said, "I tried to, Father, but I forgot the gentleman's name."
Cute story.
That's a story I have never heard and would not expect to hear anywhere else.
I think it's a charming story.
It's a nice story. It pulls in several directions.
I forgot the fellow's name, he said. Before we get to FFRF News, there is a correction we have to make. On our last show, we identified Tim Minchin as a British rocker, and he's not a British rocker. He does perform in Britain a lot, which is where I kind of got that idea. He's actually from Australia. You might recall Tim Minchin's very fun song that we played, White Wine in the Sun, which goes, I really like Christmas. It's causing some consternation over there in Australia. So sorry about that, Tim. You're not British. You are Australian. Now we want to play, speaking of British, we want to play just a few other interesting clips for you this week. At the end of November, Queen Elizabeth made a very interesting remark about secularism before the General Synod of the Church of England.
In our more diverse and secular society, the place of religion has come to be a matter of lively discussion. It is rightly acknowledged that people of faith have no monopoly of virtue, and that the well-being and prosperity of the nation depend on the contribution of individuals and groups of all faiths and of none.
Of all faiths and of none. It's nice to be at the table, a part of the fabric of society these days, isn't it? Isn't it refreshing to hear the Queen acknowledge that people of faith have no monopoly on virtue, that a secular society depends on contributions from people of all faiths and, like most of our listeners, no faith.
And we want to put in a plug for the always quotable Christopher Hitchens, author of God is Not Great, who is, we're sorry to say, battling esophageal cancer very valiantly and stoically, and it's amazing he's still doing debates. And late last month, Christopher Hitchens debated Tony Blair, the former Prime Minister of England, who's had quite a conversion, and we have a short clip from that debate.
Once you assume a creator and a plan, it makes us objects in a cruel experiment whereby we are created sick and commanded to be well. I'll repeat that. Created sick and then ordered to be well. And over us to supervise this is installed a celestial dictatorship, a kind of divine North Korea.
Well, that is the colorful Christopher Hitchens comparing the specter of a god to a North Korean dictator. And if you've ever read the Bible, you know what he's talking about. If you haven't, well, many Freethought authors have done that work for you. And we can warmly recommend Ruth Hermentz Green's book, The Born-Again Skeptic's Guide to the Bible. The first book that the Freedom from Religion Foundation published is still a bestseller. It takes pages just to list all the mass murders, executions, and killings ordered by the dictatorial deity of the Bible.
Now, turning to FFRF in the news, Dan, I think you...
Some of you may have caught a short glimpse of Annie Laurie on The Daily Show last Monday, and a glimpse of one of FFRF's famous winter solstice signs in a state capitol. Footage of Annie Laurie debating Bill O'Reilly, and of one of FFRF's solstice signs. Part of a cute segment on The Daily Show did lampooning Fox TV's annual complaint that there is a war on Christmas.
And that's a reminder that FFRF has once again placed its famous winter solstice sign in the Wisconsin State Capitol for its 15th seasonal visit. And what does that solstice sign read, Dan?
It was written by Ann Gaylor and Nickel Gaylor, the founder and co-president emerita of the foundation. At this season of the winter solstice, may reason prevail. There are no gods, no devils, no angels, no heaven or hell. There's only our natural world. Religion is but myth and superstition that hardens hearts and enslaves minds.
And the sign is by the bust of Robert La Follette on the first floor of the Wisconsin State Capitol Rotunda. That's one up from the ground floor, and it reminds everyone that the winter solstice is the real reason for the season, and that's coming up December 21st, as always, and it signals the return of the sun and the start of the natural new year. And as we always remind people, it's been celebrated for millennia in the Northern Hemisphere with festivals of light, evergreens, gift feasts, and gift exchanges.
Christians do not own the month of December. No month is free from pagan reverie. The FFRF chapter in Raleigh, North Carolina, the Triangle Freethought Society, has placed a 14 by 48-foot billboard for the month in a prominent location, Capitol Boulevard, Highway 401. And the billboard says, Reasons Greetings.
And we have billboards going up in Denver next week saying Reasons Greetings, and a Jolly Santa saying, Yes, Virginia, there is no God. So you can look for our winter solstice cards at ffrf.org, and we're going to be right back.
I'm Dan Barker with Annie Laurie Gaylor. Together we direct the National Freedom from Religion Foundation, which produces this show, Freethought Radio. And that was Bing Crosby singing a song written by Jay Gorney, the free-thinking songwriter, who was born on December the 12th, 1896. And we went out of the previous segment with another song that Jay Gorney wrote called You're My Thrill. He was one of many non-religious songwriters who have richly improved all of our lives.
And before we talk about the big FFRF news, I want to make a little pitch. Some of you may never have heard of winter solstice greeting cards. If you are a freethinker, you can send these out. They say Happy New Year. They say greetings of the winter solstice.
And not Merry Christmas.
Right. Or they say Reasons Greetings or Heathens Greetings instead of Seasons Greetings. And they're cute. We have about a dozen different kinds of winter solstice greeting cards at ffrf.org/shop. And you might enjoy just looking at them. It's not too late to order them. You can order them online, and you can order a sign that it's like our billboard that's got the Jolly Santa saying, Yes, Virginia, there is no God. If you want to be hard-hitting, or you can do sparkling waterfalls if you want to be softcore.
So hurry, there's only a few more shopping days before the winter solstice.
Coming up. And for new listeners, we want to talk about FFRF's challenge of the National Day of Prayer, reminding listeners that a federal judge, Barbara Crabb, here in Madison, Wisconsin, ruled in our favor historically last April 15th that the 1952 Act of Congress ordaining a National Day of Prayer is indeed unconstitutional, and that law orders the President to issue a proclamation for a National Day of Prayer and exhorts citizens to pray and to turn, quote, to God in churches as individuals and in groups. And the Obama administration immediately appealed our federal court victory. It's now before the appeals court in Chicago. So, Dan, a week ago Thursday, you and much of our legal staff drove to Chicago to hear the litigation attorney for this case, Richard L. Bolton, argue our side before the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals. And tell us, how did it go?
That was fun. It was December the 2nd, and it was very interesting. The 20 minutes per side expanded to 30 minutes per side. We were the first argument of the day before a 3-judge panel, although one of the judges was listening by the phone. And Rich, our attorney, did a wonderful job. He hammered home the point about how we are outsiders, how the National Day of Prayer is really a religious exercise by the religious right. He addressed the comments by the government that there has to be some kind of coercion involved, and he pointed out there is no coercion involved in Establishment Clause cases, and we have great standing. So standing was a big issue.
Now, the whole name of the game here is the judges you draw, and unfortunately, that didn't look as good. We did get Easterbrook and Mannion, both known to be very conservative judges. Easterbrook was the one who was sick and wasn't there in person.
So he listened on the phone.
And then there was a very feisty judge, Anne Claire Williams, and we're going to listen to her.
She was really
actually.
good. She was powerful.
We have a clip from the oral arguments, and this is appeals court judge Anne Claire Williams giving kind of a tough time to the Obama administration represented by Attorney Lowell Sturz.
All these other laws and these holidays like Memorial Day, Thanksgiving Day, they have a secular purpose. There's a dual purpose. There may be prayer and Thanksgiving, but there's a secular purpose to honor the soldiers. Here, there is no secular purpose, is there? You would agree that a National Prayer Day, if it was a federal holiday, would be unconstitutional. You can agree with that.
I'm sorry, what?
If the National Day of Prayer was a federal holiday, that would be unconstitutional, wouldn't it? The only focus on Federal Prayer Day is prayer.
I don't know. Maybe I'm not sure, because again, the secular purpose here is to reflect and regularize a practice, a benign practice that has been followed in the country since the beginning of the first Congress. Now,
so doesn't that ignore, though, various founding fathers who were against endorsed prayer proclamations? I mean, the record is not as clear historically as you suggest.
It seemed to us that the government's case was quite weak and quite flimsy, and this Justice Williams was very good at exposing some of the problems on their side. Our attorney, Rich Bolton from Madison, Wisconsin, argued for 30 minutes, oral arguments, and let's listen to one highlight of Rich Bolton's presentation before the 7th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals.
We have been taught to be solicitous of one religious belief over another. But I represent, in a sense, a minority, I'm told, and that is the group of people that are non-believers. And they are as much within the ambit of the protection of the Establishment Clause as if they were Jews or Lutherans or Muslims. And what's going on here, in a sense, is that we're going to tolerate government speech at the highest levels of government, directed at all Americans. But as long as it is only excluding and only speaks favorably of all religions and seemingly only excludes non-believers, that's okay. It's not okay.
So that was very, very, you guys really enjoyed Rich's presentation. And
he was quite passionate.
Made a good showing. And we will find out what happens by spring or early summer if it is scheduled as typical before the U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals.